Hey everybody, I have had some questions about the Google Sheets version of the Rhythms and Routines Homeschool Planner system. So I'm going to go through how I use this. This is the version I use in my own home. Now there is a PDF version of the planner that you can choose if you'd prefer that, to print it out and use it as a paper copy, and it's also an editable PDF, or you can get the complete system, which includes the Google Sheets version, the PDF version, and a video course that walks you through how to do homeschool planning and to set up your systems well. But this video is just about the Google Sheets version. This is what I use in my own homeschool. There is the very first tab that you'll find is this calendar tab. Now this is all customizable, so things will look a little different. I just copied this over from last year and changed the year. So here you, at the calendar settings, you choose the year. So if you change it it was originally 2025, then you see all the dates update and the calendar heading updates. But this is going to be my 2026-27 homeschool calendar. You can choose what month you start in. So we'll be starting in September. If you go year round, you can pick whatever date you want, of course. You can choose the day of the week that you start on. Now you'll see I changed mine to start on Sunday. Last year we started on Monday, and then we skipped Tuesday, and then we did Wednesday, so it was very different. So because every homeschool is different. So over here in the weekend days, you can choose which days are your weekend days. And when you choose things, like let's say it was Monday, you can see over here on the left, it will gray out the days that are your quote unquote weekend days. So for us, we are actually going back to standard weekend days. So that is what I've selected. And so again, over here, you can see it will gray out your weekend days. These gold days are what I have dedicated as our school days. So if you're tracking attendance, which we don't have to in our state, but if you do in your state, you can change the color of these. You would click on one of them and go up here and choose the color. Now we have a specific color that down here, it will calculate how many days. So you set all the ones that you want, and there's more details about this when you purchase the system on exactly how all of this works. But you would color all of the days that are your school days gold with that special code color, and then you would click update up here, and it will calculate your school days for you. Here you can put some notes in. Now you may notice if you purchase the planner that these are set up as quarters. We used to run on quarters, and then we joined a co-op that works on terms, so we changed it to terms. You can customize this however you want, and it will automatically update the term or quarter tabs, which I'll show you in a little bit. So I just type in what my term or quarter dates are going to be based on what makes sense for our family. And over here, this is automatically updated depending on the year. So I'll show you, if you change it to 2020, it will update the it'll update the 2025 to 26 events. It looks like I didn't go back to 2020 because this planner is only a few years old. So if I change this to 2026, it will update these dates automatically. You can also add in yours. My son graduated this last year in June, so I added that manually. All right. Then big picture, again, this is all from last year, so I need to go through and update it, but this is where you put your vision and goals. You evaluate what worked well and what did not work well last year and what you want to focus on. Your goals for the year, individual goals for you or for your children. And of course, you'll notice there's scripture throughout. For curriculum, again, this is from last year, so I need to update it still. But this is all customizable. So I put, for us, we have group work. Each of the kids has their own work, and the subject is on the left, and you can kind of fill it in to give yourself a grid of what you're going to purchase or what you're going to plan. This is a project unit planner. We often do little studies in our family, so this is a very simple planner that I use for that. You can just, if you want to create multiples, you just can right click on this and duplicate to create multiple sets. Then we have these. These are in the original planner, these are called quarters, and these pull these dates from what you set on the calendar tab. And like I said, we switched them to terms, so I just changed that and it works well. So you can, change it to fit your needs. So we evaluate last term, what worked well, what didn't work well, put notes in there that I want to remember. I write my big picture goals for the term or the quarter, important dates. And then here is where I put curriculum milestones or other milestones that I want to keep in mind so that by the end of the quarter, I can look back and say, okay, are we on track where I thought we would be or not? A mother's journal, this is just really good for me. Every quarter or term, I go in and write down what we actually did that maybe isn't on the planner, because that's learning too, and that's important. I put in prayers, reflections, any successes or aha moments that we had. It's really encouraging to me, and it's a good record of what we've done. We put prayers down here for my kids, for their individual needs, or for our homeschool in general, or for myself. If we're going to do any special units or projects, I'll put that in here. Loop schedule focus, sometimes, we'll change what we're doing for loop schedule, like scripture memory or enrichment studies or resource rotation. I'll note all that down here because I need everything in my brain on paper, or else I'll forget it. Read alouds or audiobooks. If I want certain things to show up in this quarter or term for our read alouds and audiobooks, I'll put that in here. And any prep or supplies needed goes here. All right, so I have one of those for each term or quarter. Here we have our book list. I like to keep a list of all the books that we've each read and our group read alouds, and also books that I've read. For my high schoolers, this is more important because I actually will print this out for the end of the year at their graduation. I'll print out, or at the end of their high school at graduation, I print out a list of all the books they read. But for the rest of them, it's just nice to have a record of it so we can go back and say, oh, what was that one book we read that you really liked? Here is where I work out our basic routines. Now, last year, we had Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday was our school week. We're going to change it for this one because we're a more standard schedule now that my husband's job changed. So you can change this to fit you and your family. But for each day, I like to have blocks where I say, okay, what generally are we going to do? What is our routine or rhythm? So what are we going to do early morning, at breakfast time, mid-morning, lunch, dinner time, etc., and then notes at the bottom. This just helps me to kind of wrap my head around how we're going to use the curriculum and how it fits in. It also kind of keeps me in line so that I make sure that there's lots of margin built in and rest time, and I'm not trying to pack our days too closely. Then here's our lesson plan template. So this is each week I go down here and I right click on this and I create a duplicate, and then I put the date, the beginning date of the week. So lesson plan for, July 20th would be the Monday. And then I just duplicate it each week. So this I just copied over from last year so you could see kind of what it looks like. Up here, what I'll do each week is say these are the most important things, the MITs that we need to get done this week that I need to make sure get done. Here I will jot down anything that's happening during the course of the week that will impact our homeschool time. And then for our group, I'll put down what we're doing for each lesson, just generally. I don't tend to do detailed lesson plans here. I just kind of jot down what we're going to accomplish. If there's anything I particularly need to do, especially when it comes to prep or working ahead or grading, I jot that down here. Also, like I said, I'll forget. And then for each of my children that I'm teaching that year, I'll write in their names here and fill in what they're going to do. And so as we go throughout the week or at the end of the week, you can check off what they've accomplished. You don't have to use the check boxes, but you can if you want. And then this is no longer Mom. This used to be my oldest. It's kind of sad. He graduated. I couldn't convince him to do a 5th year just to hang out with me more. Anyway, so that's how this works. And then you can add whatever you want to over here. So you can change all of these. These are the ones we most often do. And then last year, we had something called Tuesday work, which was basically if a kid didn't finish their schoolwork for the week, then we would put it on their off day. So now this will become Saturday work. And that just keeps them accountable because they don't want to work on their off day on Saturday. So they make sure to get their schoolwork done in time. All right, so then the following week, I would just duplicate this, clear it out, or update it is usually what I do because often it's similar work. We just need to tweak it and then move on. And then for housekeeping loop schedule, I like to have all of my loop schedules in here. You could make one for each kid and print it off. This tends to be more of a template for me, and then I can keep track of where I am. So these are the things that me or my kids are doing every day. And then down here are the things we're looping through. And then because it's flexible, you can add your own tabs. So I just wanted to show you last year or a couple years ago, my son did physics, my oldest, and so I needed something that mapped out, his labs. I needed to keep track of whether he got his labs done. And so I just created my own tab here. So really, truly, it is flexible to do, whatever you want with it. The only thing to keep in mind is you'll want to save off a copy that's kind of your clean copy so that if you really mess with it, you can always go back to the default if you want. All right, I hope that helps. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions.